Okay, so have you ever wondered when you've been respecking if it's worth it to take these movement mode innates, or what they do, what are their purpose? That's a good question, because a lot of stuff has changed over the years, so we'll kind of dive into this now. Each movement mode is going to have a different variation depending on what it is. So say acrobatics has knockback and stun, super speed has knockback and encase and rooting, flight and skimmy are the exact same, and they both have stun and encase and rooting. So what that means is that when you're knocked back, like a pushback, or when you're stunned, or when you're encased or rooted, which doesn't happen too often, but when you break out, you get if you have the first row, it gives you instantly a little bit of power back, and if you have the mastery, it gives you that instant as well as power over time. So the first row is always going to be a 10% increase, so it adds 10% chance not getting stunned. These I'm pretty sure don't work anymore, like I'm 99.9% don't work anymore. If an NPC is scripted to stun you, it's going to stun you. It doesn't matter if you have 10% resistance, it's going to stun you. Unless you already have immunity, or you have immunity from a tank, you're going to get stunned. So this 10%, it's a background stat anyway, we can't see that, so just, these don't work anymore for sure. But you don't have a choice, you have to take them to get the next row down, so that's why you have to take this regardless. So for example, we're going to get stunned here. I'm going to dump some power and show you actually what it gets back here. So let's just dump some power here. Breakout, there we go. So breakout, 1484 power. So that was the first row, just instantly a little bit of power back. Now I should say this scales with CR. So if I'm CR 250, 260, 280, whatever, that's the power it's going to be determined. It's not going to be determined on your stats, like your power pool, anything like that, or your VIT. It's going to be scaled to your CR. So kind of what that 1484 looks like in perspective. If you go to loadouts here, now being at 281 CR, same thing, the power cost is going to scale, but say hand clap is a 300 power cost. So it costs me, every time I hit a hand clap is 8,900 power, and I got 1,400 back basically. Chompers is a 100 power cost, that's the cheapest. So that's about 3K, so it's half the chompers back. And a 200 one, I think it traps 200, no, recharge, nope. Light Claws is 200. So 200 power cost would be just under 6K power back, or 6K power cost, and I'm getting 1,500 power back. So in perspective, yeah, it works for like 100 power cost moves, which there's not too much of. And some controller sets have them, but say I'm hitting recharge is a 300 power cost. So if I have to break out as a controller and get a little bit extra power to the group, it costs me 9,000 power to hit recharge, and I get 1,500 back from a breakout. So yeah, every little bit of power helps, but that's not as doesn't make a lot of sense. Doesn't help your chances to get 1,500 power back when it costs 9,000 to hit a power. So we'll spec into the mastery here just to show you that. So basically the mastery, if it works with the stun recovery, so basically I'll get a little bit of instant power and then power over time returned. So same thing, we'll dump some power. Okay, so 1484 and then 296, 296, 296. Make sure that actually worked. Dump some more power. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 ticks of 296 power. So 5 ticks of basically 300 power, and then you have the 1484 instant. So once again, that's not too much. If you're getting 5 ticks of it, that's about 1480 power from the power over time, and then you get 1484 from the instant. So about 3,000 power returned, roughly 2964 power returned each time you break out. So once again, that's enough for like a 100 power cost move. So if I go back to chompers here, barely, so 2967, 2964. So I could essentially get a free 100 power cost move out of it every time I break out. But once again, it doesn't do much to a 300 power cost and a 200 power cost. Grasping Hand will be 200, 6K versus 3K, so half of a 200 power cost move. So, more of a story. If you've got the skill points, you could certainly spec it. As a controller, I would take that just because, every little power helps a controller, and it's really only, it's going to be 4 extra skill points. Sorry. Well, even then, I wouldn't even take I wouldn't take the stunning if you're flight or super speed. I wouldn't take the stunning encased one. You can, but very rarely are we getting encased and rooted in this game anymore. Some raids might have it, but 9 times out of 10 you're not getting encased and rooted. You're getting stunned, and unfortunately, super speed doesn't have a stun recovery. All the other ones do, but super speed gets enough stuff. But there it is there. So essentially, if you want to take it, it's 5 extra skill points. If you're leveling up or you've got less than, let's say, 250 skill points, don't worry about it. It's not necessary. As you saw there, it doesn't give you much power back at all. It's not going to save you, especially as a healer. Like, if you're a healer, your instant power cost, anything like that, it's going to cost thousands of power. So, if you're bone dry on power and have to break out, you're not going to be able to hit anything just because you broke out. There's no 100 power cost move heal as a healer. But, if you've got the skill points to spare, go for it. You just saw it gives you about, at 281 at least, at this CR, because once again, it's going to scale with your CR as well. So it roughly gives you about 3,000 power back every time you break out. If you feel that 3,000 power is beneficial to you for 5 skill points, then you go ahead, right ahead. It just depends on how you use your power. If you're constantly always on full power, then you're not going to worry about it. Like as a DPS or a Prec DPS, this is going to be pointless to you. The 10% doesn't work, and you're not going to need the power pool. But if you're a healer or a controller, I would certainly, if you have the skill points to spare, take it.